Hello, my friends, and I hope you're having a fantastic day. So I was, as always, going through Twitter and ran into this tweet from Cabrutus. Remember when I told you that big publishers would eventually have internal DEI teams? It has begun. Obviously, an image from, apparently, Activision, Games with Pride, Pride and Power. Team, games are a powerful medium for expressing identity and fostering connections as they allow us to tell diverse stories and create inclusive spaces where everyone sees themselves reflected. As we celebrate the LGBTQ plus community during Pride Month in the U.S., this June with our theme, Pride and Power, we're reminded of the strength and unity that comes from embracing our true selves, supporting one another, and telling our stories in everything we do. Seeing yourself in what you can do makes all the difference in how you show up. With representation being a key pillar of our inclusive game design IGD efforts, we're even more compelled to ensure all forms of different identities and lived experiences are showcased in our games authentically. Some of the ways we've approached this at Activision is through the debut of Activision's first non-binary character, Catbat from Crash Team Rumble. Catbat is also voiced by a gender-fluid actor who uses all pronouns. As you'll hear in our next Press Pause episode airing on June 12th, representation in our games sends the message that people from all backgrounds and identities are invited to play. Check out our inclusive game design resources on our DEI and SharePoint site. This including an IGD overview course, workshops on authentically representing gender identities, inclusive storytelling, and more. While I would like to see where this came from specifically, just because I like to double check and make sure things are real. This is the internet. It's very easy to get fooled. I decided to just do a random Google search for Activision and DEI. And here's what we come up with. This is from activision.com/company/diversity, equity, inclusion. And you have it, Activision. I don't really want to go through this whole thing. That would be insane. There's a lot of shit here. But we're going to hit the highlights. Here you have the DEI, create a sense of belonging, authentic selves, contribute their best. Diversity, all the ways we are unique, both seen and unseen, and, unless, of course, that means you think a different way. Equity, fair treatment across opportunity and advancements for all people, unless, of course, you think a certain way. Inclusion, creating environments in which any individual or group can be and feel welcomed, respected, supported, and valued to fully participate. Unless you think differently. Rundown 2.0 is a deep dive into their DEI journey. You got It's the People, Think Player First, Champion DE and I, Change the Game, Have Fun, Choosing to Do What Matters Because It Matters. Now let's see what Rob Kostic has to say. Our success comes from focusing on our people and players. For us to operate at the top of our game in both areas, it is imperative that we champion diversity, equity, and inclusion environment where everyone can show up as the best version of themselves, motivated and comfortable to push our thinking in all new ways. As we look at our player community, we properly reflect the diversity of our players in our teams and in our thinking in order to exceed their needs and expectations as they connect to our incredible games. This culture journey is one that never ends. We will strive to improve every day. This is an essential global team effort that we will continue to refine together. I'm thankful for so many of our employees who passionately drive our DE&I efforts, and I am inspired to do the work with all of you to positively impact our people and our players. Who are your people? Oh, okay. By people, they mean employees. Fancy, and little blurbs about why they think this is a good thing. Our employee networks: Asian and Pacific Islander, Black, Disability, Indigenous and Aboriginal, LGBT+, Somos, Veterans, Women's, Multicultural Employee what? And Swana. Sadly, these don't go anywhere, or else I would very much like to look at them. Here's that Press Pause series they were talking about. Mentorship, pictures, why they're talking about that inclusive game design crap. Yeah, these look great. The three pillars of our the three pillars of our IGD efforts are accessibility, which is including making sure the widest possible audience can enjoy our games. This making sure the widest possible audience can enjoy our games is a big mistake, because all that does is means you give people something that's watered down and weak. Because to reach the widest possible audience, you have to reach for the lowest common denominator. And that means the people who can't handle certain things. That means people who aren't necessarily into thinking. It means all sorts of things. Realistically, to want the widest possible audience without thinking more deeply into who that means you're making the game for, that's ridiculous. Representation, striving to have diverse, inclusive casts of characters and narratives. Okay, boring, whatever. Community, including limiting online toxicity in our player interactions. What does that mean? Oh gosh. Ooh, what's their responsibilities? Do we think they actually know what responsibilities are? Our commitment to creating an inclusive, equitable, and diverse culture doesn't stop within our organization. It's a bunch of commie bullshit. Yeah, unfortunately, that's not the only thing that popped up. There's this other website, which is, it's just the same shit. It's a slightly different format. I don't know if this is like an older one, because this is ActivisionBlizzard.com, but it's the same stuff. Even the communities, it's like they copied and pasted right onto the other page. So let's take a look at this rundown thing we saw. Okay. Focus on inclusion. A large body of research proves diverse teams outperform homogenous teams. Inclusive organizations collaborate better, and investing in equity leads to higher productivity and lower turnover. I would like to see who did that research, and I would like to see the research, please. A note from the president: we don't give a shit. Our people, our games, our reach. This is a sickening PowerPoint thing. Oh, look, our numbers, race and gender, 2023. Ethnicity and race. Men is 79%, women is 20%, non-binary is 1%, and something else is less than 1%. Well, that makes sense. Now we can break it down by race, apparently. 61% white, 17% Asian, 10% Hispanic, 2 or more races, 7%. Only 4% Black, Native or Pacific Islander, less than 1%. Native American or Alaskan Native is also less than 1%. Well, look at that. In 2023, white men still made up the majority of Activision. I don't know why that matters to anybody, but I'm sure somebody thinks that's a terrible thing, and I'm sure somebody else thinks that's a great thing. All I know is the game's coming out of shit. Inclusive candidate experience. Candidates. Okay. I'm not going to lie. This could be because I'm tired, but this really just irritates me. Why do we care about any of these things where we develop a supporting and welcoming online community in and around games? Unless I am playing a multiplayer game, I don't care about the community around the game. If let's take Dragon Age, for example. I love Dragon Age. Great games, 1, 2, and 3, in my opinion. I know people complain that there's too much to do in 3. I have never considered that a bad thing. However, I don't know anybody. It's not like I spend time talking to people who also like Dragon Age. I don't seek out people who also like Dragon Age so that we can hang out and shit. Because that's not why I play the game. I play the game to play the game and enjoy myself, alone, while playing the game. So if Billy Bob over there doesn't like the game, I don't give a fuck. I have no idea where this weird thing came from that all of a sudden everybody has to be part of this community around these things they like. No, you don't. If you are playing a multiplayer game, yeah, you have to be able to get along in the community that you're in. But if you find that community doesn't fit you, then maybe the game isn't for you. And that's okay. Go find another game. There are so many other games out there. I don't really understand why people get so obsessed. And I'm repeating myself. I understand. I do not understand getting so obsessed with wanting to be part of a community, part of a fandom. Somebody actually asked me that question. What fandoms are you part of? And I'm like, I had to stop and think about it because I don't consider myself part of any fandom, really. I am someone who I enjoy Dragon Age. I enjoy Lord of the Rings. I can't say that I'm a huge fan of either Star Wars or Star Trek. I probably lean a little more Star Trek over Star Wars, but that's an entirely separate thing. I think Star Wars is a little space opera-y, but yeah, you know, people have fun with it. When I go and watch these movies, I'm not going and watching them for stuff to talk about with other people. I'm going to watch them because I want to see them. I love novels. I love David Eddings. I love Anne McCaffrey. There are people out there I know who also love these novels, but it's not like I look them up and sit and have long conversations over them. I know some people do, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't. For some people, that is how they connect with others. I am a severe introvert, not so much for me, so I don't understand that. I feel like for some of these people, having this interest or acting like they have this interest is part of how they feel like they get into a group. And so they think the only prerequisite for getting into this group is liking this thing. So if they can pretend they like this thing, then they can be let in the group. And then that means everybody in the group will automatically like them because they all like this thing. Well, that's not how it works. If I was to sit down and talk to another David Eddings fan, I'm sure there is something that we could both passionately argue over. For example, the difference between the Belgarian and the Elenium. I prefer Sparhawk. I know that there are other people out there who prefer Belgarian. We can argue over the differences between the two different book series and the way that the magic works and the way that the pantheons work and all that fun stuff. Actually, that would be a really interesting conversation. If I was to talk to another Anne McCaffrey enjoyer, do they prefer the Pern series? Do they prefer Rowena? Have they heard of Acorna? There's so many different things in there that we could talk about. But that doesn't mean I have to like these people, and it doesn't mean they have to like me. And I don't understand that disconnect at all. Why? Why are we trying to say that being a fan being a fan of anything means that you are automatically part of this group of people who are also fans? I mean, technically you are part of a group of people who are fans, but that doesn't mean you all have to. It has to have something to do with the whole idea of being part of a community or something. I've been parts of communities. I am parts of communities. But the people in these communities are individuals who all have their own thoughts, they have their own feelings, they have their own biases, and I either like that person or I don't. And whether or not they're a fan of the thing I'm a fan of has nothing to do with it. So this whole thing, I'm not going to keep going with this because this whole thing, that is the crux of the issue, is what I'm talking about here. This whole thing is done by people who have felt left out in their life. They feel left out and sad that they're left out because they think that liking this thing is the automatic ticket to being liked. They see these other people who like this thing and who have this camaraderie, and they want part of that too, but they don't understand the camaraderie. They don't understand that you can have a heated discussion with somebody, and yeah, you might even call each other some names, but that doesn't mean that there's actual animosity between you. It's there's main character syndrome going on here, there's narcissism, all sorts of different issues that just compound each other and have reached the point where these people are trying to get further entrenched so that they can bring these things in line with what they want to see, what they want it to do. And the one thing that they want the most from all of this is attention. That's what this is about, is they want the attention. And that attention means buying the games, it means talking about the games, it means all of those things. That's part of why this whole don't buy games that you don't believe in, or that you don't think people, or that you don't like the company that made the game. That's part of it. But at the same time, if you really want to get rid of these people, you don't play the game. You let it go. We have okay, I'm not going to get into that. I apologize. But there's so much to do with it. There's so much more we have that we can do and to just freeze these people out. All right, guys, I'm gonna drop that there. That was my rant for the night. I apologize if it sounds confused and rambly, but you know, it's how I feel about this stuff right now. Let me know down in the comments if you understood any of it. I would appreciate it. Yeah. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Please like, comment, subscribe, and turn on the notifications. If you really liked it, you can feel free to share it around, and I will catch you later.